misspelled NIEL, who also must have misspelled it. Otherwise, I think we're about the only two in the whole country.
I'm John Ennemark, class of '58, and I've already talked to you a little bit, and I was a university professor, and it's hard to get me to sit down once I start talking. And as you all know, I'm Paul's brother. And that, whenever I go to Minnesota, they ask me, was in the announcement that Chris sent out, do you know Paul Ennemark? And I always say yes. Okay, and that gets me all kinds, usually lots of benefits. You know, the patrolman says, oh, okay, go ahead. I won't write a ticket now. Okay.
I'm Karen Rink-Needus, and I'm just so happy to have this group because after I moved away from Tyler and my parents passed away, and I haven't been to Tyler, I can't even tell you how many years. But it's so good to remember, and I'm just very grateful to Bodell for all you have done. Thank you, Bodell.
Thank you. Okay, Junior, up. This is for your mom and dad.
Okay, I'm John Johnson, class of '79. I still think my sister gave Odell my phone number, because about a month ago, she calls on a Sunday afternoon and asks why she isn't, why I'm not responding to emails. And I said, well, I'm not getting any emails. But she had an email address from 25 years ago. So I gave her my email address. I told her that I was going to be down in Arizona here for 10 days now. But I didn't actually decide till 8:30 this morning that I was going to come. And she kept saying I have to come, and I said it's a coin toss at best. But it's not too bad, Bodell. So, and Kevin helped me because we golfed yesterday, and he said he was coming for Marlene, and I'm doing this for my mom, Connie. So I know that she's smiling down on me. So anyway, that's about all I know.
Good job.
Hello, I'm Kevin Yonker. My parents are Roy and Marlene from Lake Bend, originally. Well, Mom from Tyler. So they've been living in Tyler about 40 years now. And I've been over here full time about 6 years. So that's about it.
Wait a minute, how tall are you, Kevin?
6'6".
Okay.
Just a little bit more than now.
Well, I used to be 6'6", but I'm old now. Tyler High School band and Soda Slun. You all remember? Play band. So when I was in 6th grade, they needed another French horn player. They were down to 3. And my Aunt Carol Peterson said to Soflin, well, Mavis is in 6th grade. Oh, okay, so he interviewed me. I got the job to play 4th chair French horn, and for 7 years I played 4th chair. I guess you're supposed to practice in there somewhere because they bring in new French horn players, and there I sat. And I didn't even care. I didn't want to move up.
You got to go on all the trips.
First chair was Shirley Christensen. You remember? Yeah, your class. Second chair was Aunt Carol Peterson. Third chair was Marie Jurgens. No. Marie Jensen, thank you. And I was the 4th chair. So anyway, we were in the band. But I did become the majorette. It was 5 years majorette. And I do remember going to Brookings for Hobo Day, homecoming. It was so darn cold. And us girls wore black wool slacks with the white boots and had gloves on, and we twirled and the band went, and we had a great time. So here's the stove.
Al Buell, class of '72. I got 2 quick basketball stories. When I was in 9th grade, Mr. Copel was my basketball coach. And I got kicked out of art class. And the art room was right next to the math room, but Monty Shanks' office was right there. And the rumor always was, you know, he had a belt. And I came out of art class, and Mr. Copel saw my art teacher take me into the office. And about 2 minutes later, he came in the office, he goes, come here.
come into my math class and sit in the back. Mr. Shanks doesn't even know that you're supposed to be there. Because the teacher hasn't told him yet, I can hide you till after class, and that way you won't get in trouble. He still may be my favorite teacher ever because of that. And the other quick basketball story, because Kevin's 3 years younger than I am. So I'm a senior, he's a sophomore, way better basketball player than I ever was. And you know how your relatives are also kind to you? I followed Kevin in that game. And my uncle Mike Bornhoft came up to me a couple days later and goes, Al, you know that foul they called on you on the Yonkers kid? I said, yeah. And he goes, you never fouled him, Al. The referee made a big mistake.
Well, I'm Joan Yule, yeah, so that is my little brother. And I always enjoy, oh, that's right, like this. I always enjoyed school very much, especially the music, which was, I was a big part of the music. So that was really good. We had our 50th class reunion, and we still get together every 5 years if we can. And I still have a lot of good friends in Tyler, and I'm in Tyler and enjoying living there, so. And you are.
But how did you get to be mayor? Did they vote?
Nobody else. I guess they did vote, yes, yes.
How long have you been mayor?
I'm on my second term, but I was privileged enough, I guess, more privileged to be on the RTR school board as we put the pairings together. And so that's probably more of a privilege than being the mayor. And I don't think I have eggs thrown at me yet, but you never know. But I do want to say, if you have not all seen any of the pictures, there is no school left in Tyler or Russell or Ruthven, except for the brand new one, which we're very proud to have out on County Road 8. So, yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Did you have to bend your brother's arm to get him to pick Oscar and Neil up at the airport?
I did. Oh, I said absolute. He had to do it.
$100 to do it.
Wait, we didn't get nothing.
I graduated from Tyler in 1957. My name is Janice Jelstra. Dornbos Zant. I just married this guy 2.5 years ago. And so this is also new for him. And although he's originally from Ruthven, so he knows a few, and worked in Tyler with Brower Construction. And Louis Brower, so you did a few people.
Who didn't?
My favorite teachers were because I was heavy into music, and I do remember it's that 6th grade when we were at Brookings. I was walking across the street with Mavis, and I was saying, I just love children, and I want to become a teacher someday. And I did become a teacher, and that was my whole career. But it was in music, and that was what I really loved. And you know who my favorite teachers were in high school? Of course, Soflund and Christensen, Bruce Christensen. And so they are my big heroes because they really got me into music. And for a small town of Tyler, those teachers were so wonderful and they were so good. And I think Tyler has had a lot of wonderful things. And when my parents, in 1960, my parents moved away from Tyler and I was off to college. So I never got back to Tyler very much, except for our class reunions. I always made sure I went to our 5-year reunion so that I could keep up with my classmates. But the town itself, I just sort of lost touch with a lot of things and a lot of people. And now with marrying George, I've been more connected with Tyler again, so it's good. And it's wonderful to be here in Bodell. Thank you because of these reunions too.
Thank you.
Albert Jasperson Jr. Like this. Like
Kiss,
this.
there, kiss that baby.
Oh, man, it's a runaway around here. Anyway, born and raised in Tyler, lived in Tyler for a few years, went to Minneapolis, came back, lived in Tyler for a long time. And favorite teacher would have been again Soflund, I'm sure. He was the best of all worlds, I thought. And just moved out here about 8 years ago, I guess now, something like that. Lived full time, and just
Pretty much the way it is, class of 56.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gee.
The day after I graduated, I drove it down to Arizona and I still got the car.
I got several items. One was, when I was a senior in high school, we lost a basketball game. And the whole crowd thought it was a bad call because of the official. Now, I don't remember who the person was at the time, but I remember it was the banker's wife, after the game, was beating the referee over the head with her purse. And even though we lost the game, we were in the locker room laughing about that. I have another one to tell on Neil's dad, Harold Peterson, who was my uncle. And I found out this after I left Tyler, that one year he hired a new football coach. And of course, football practice started in March. Of course, it was still harvest season, so a lot of the farmer boys weren't there. And they told the coach, well, we can't be here right now, but we'll be there when we're done. And he said, well, if you're not here now, you won't get to play. So a lot of those kids' dads came to Harold Peterson and said, Harold, you gotta help us out here. So the story was that Harold went to the coach and said, you know, I hired you, you had a fine resume, but he says, I don't want to tell you how to run your football program, but if you cut those farm boys out, you probably won't win a game. And the only other one I was going to mention, that's on Neil. I happened to be a few weeks ago with some people from Iowa, and one of those people was a classmate of Neil at Grandview. And he said, well, what do you remember about Neil? He said, what I remember is nobody studied less than Neil. I guess he didn't have to. So that's it.
Nice.
I suppose I should introduce myself.
Kiss. All right, Oscar, kiss that microphone big time. There you go.
Yeah. How long do we have?
No, you got an hour.
Well, I should mention I have two much older classmates here, Bonnie and Diane, and so I thought that would be nice to see a reunion, a mini reunion here. And it's kind of funny, everybody asked me, how to get the nickname Oscar? And I said, well, everybody thought I was got a nickname, but I guess I came home one day in second, third grade, and I was Oscar. Fine. So, I don't remember what year this was. It was 2007 or something like that. We had a big deal in Tyler, and we had about 300 people in my house where I had the museum and whatever. Everybody knows about that. So we're standing there talking, and somebody came up to me and said, how did you get the nickname Oscar? I don't know. Came home one day in second, third grade, and I was Oscar, and I've been Oscar ever since. And the guy standing right beside me was Don Coster, who lives in Rochester, Mary Valley, Albertson. He said, I only got that name. I gave it to you. Really? He said, yeah, you know, we moved to town in 56, 57, and my dad, Bill Coster, on the St. Clair station on the corner, he went down to the Chevy garage to buy a brand new car, and the first salesman I saw was Oscar Erickson. I was so fascinated by that name, I thought the first kid I see him and start calling Oscar, it was you. Now you gotta wonder, what are the odds of him standing there when she asked that question, the one guy in the world who would know the answer when she asked the question? Kind of funny, actually. So on to the real life. You'll like this one, Janice. I retired about 6 years ago, but Daryl said you can't go anywhere without me, so you just go back to work, because I'm going to keep working for a while. So I went back to work. And I worked beside this lady for about 2 years, good friend of mine, nice lady. And I put on Facebook something one day about me and Tyler or whatever else. And she came over and said, are you from Tyler? And I said, yeah. Well, I was born in Tyler. I said, no kidding. Who's your dad? Bruce Christensen. That was Nancy from Nancy's Drive-In. So out of 2 years, never even, what, she was, but
to her on Facebook through that posting.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. So, I do remember one time I was a senior, we had a baseball game over in Edgerton. And Edgerton was really good and we weren't that spectacular. We were lining up the guys to drive over to Edgerton. Terry Sorensen was our coach and we were looking around and we only had 7 guys for the game. So we see Al Buell running around town with his glove and his bike. And we say, Al, this is a high school team, but we need another guy. Can you get to Edgerton with us? Certainly. So we went to Edgerton with 8 guys, and Al and I played outfield, and we beat them 5-0. So it must have been Al's presence, because the rest of us weren't very good.
Tell one more thing about the museum, just invite him to come and why.
Because it's exciting.
Yeah, I do want everybody to show up twice because Daryl put a sign up there that says your first visit's free. After that, you got to grab a Swiffer and start dusting stuff. Machines and dusting. So if you've been to the house, you'll see that on the upstairs, it's as bare as these walls over here. And if you've seen the downstairs, you'll know that there ain't a spot open for a 1-inch plaque if I had to. So that's the rule. You're welcome to show up anytime, but just prepare to start dusting.
Thank you.
It was kind of hard to follow Oscar. I don't have a lot to say. Deb Utoft, class of '69. I'm Mavis's cousin. My favorite teacher was Harold Peterson, by far. 9th grade science I had him for. And I also was real into the music thing, but my guy was Leon Josephson. And I'm not sure when he came, most of you probably didn't know him. We called him Joey Bonnie, you knew him.
Yep.
He was just fabulous. Although he did tell me, evidently he grew up in the same town as Monty Shanks, or they went to the same college. He said that if he would have known Monty Shanks taught at Tyler, he never would have taken the job. So that was valid, good validation for me. Anyway, that's about it.
Janice.
Bridget's the baby. I was 10 years here, but
I only got 2 minutes.
Yeah, but kiss the microphone. You got plenty of time.
I'm Judy Oh, and I got a bunch of other names. I just got married to Hagen. So I left Tyler when I was in the 9th grade, so I didn't really graduate. I graduated in California. But the one thing I remember of Tyler is my grandfather built a little shed. We lived on the farm, and he built a little shed at the end of the driveway, and he would leave money in there. And I remember the teacher writing a note to my parents saying, I don't know where Judy's getting all this money, but she's always taking the kids uptown and getting ice cream, whatever. So my parents says, where are you getting this money? I said, oh, Grandpa leaves me money all the time out in the shed. So that was the end of that. But anyway, I love Tyler, and it was like 26 people in our grade. And I go to California, and our class is like 600. It's like, wow, you had to go from this building to this building to this building. And it was scary when you're young, because in Tyler, you're just in one building. So I was in real estate, and I was out knocking on doors, asking if anybody wanted to sell this, whatever. And I knocked on Sylvia's door. And it was a hot day, and she says, you look like you could use some water. I said, sure. Well, I normally don't go to people's houses, but I did. And I said, so where are you from? She says, Minnesota. And I said, oh, I am too. Where from? She says, Tyler. The minute she said Tyler, I went, I gotta know her. I said, what's your first name? She said, Sylvia. I said, Sylvia Dam. How do you know? I said, because you used to come to my parties all the time out on the farm. So that's how she got me started in coming to the high school reunion and stuff like that. But we have a lot of fun, and that's it.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait. Tell them about the log cabin.
Oh, the log cabin. My dad owned the log cabin, and my dad used to sell Oldsmobiles. Her dad sold Pontiacs. But my dad one time had a gas leak under the log cabin. So without thinking, he goes down with a flashlight and he lifts up the lighter. Well, the log cabin went up like 2 inches off the foundation. And I was in school and we heard sirens, not thinking, because you don't hear that many sirens in Tyler. And we got to the hospital, and you know, if you smell burnt skin, it's not good. But my dad made it. My mom was cooking, and the foundation went up and got scared.
And what happened
Everybody survived.
What happened to Janice then?
Yeah, what happened? I don't know.
She was sitting on the counter and some trucker was gonna take her out of there.
But I have another story, but that's later, I guess. When I'm 16, I had a 16th birthday party.
Oh, yeah. No, do that one now. Do that one now. Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Does anybody remember Toots and Ray Ole?
Yeah.
That's her parents. Go ahead.
Okay. So in California, you don't advertise open house parties. You just don't. So I was 16. My girlfriend at the time, her uncle was Victor Mature. And I didn't have the Asiatic flu or something like that, and she was putting out posters, open house party at this address. So naturally, when you're 16, you got all these guys coming in from college and this and that. My mom got scared. She called my dad home from work. There was no place to park, so I had to park up where I got a ticket from the cops that came. There was 2 Mexican girls out front that wanted to fight me because we locked the front doors, and it was getting out of hand. There was beer cans all over in the pool. We had an alley in the back, and my girlfriend was out there doing her thing with the guys, and there was no more parties after that. It got out of hand.
I'm Les Svensson, Tub, they used to call me. Whenever I go back to Tyler, I still get called Tub. My parents ran the Chat and Shoe Cafe. And
We were always there.
then a lot of people were in the Chat and Shoe Cafe. Basketball games
Les, who
and
was your dad?
Football games. Woody.
He was a cook out at the golf course too.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Part of the class, you know, like this. And then he turned around and he said, "I shall return." To which Mr. Peterson said, "Over my dead body." Well, you know, John did return, and Mr. Peterson lived many, many more years. Somehow they worked things out. And then Paul Ennemark and I made a true confession today to Keith Knudsen that my first year in college at Augustana in Sioux Falls, a couple of us drove down to Lake Benton one night and met a few boys from Tyler, Paul Ennemark, and I think Dave Deuce, I don't remember who else, Roger Rouse, Kurt Blinken, and we had a nice little plan worked out where we could go up on the hill where it said Lake Benton in white rocks, and we changed it to SD State, South Dakota State. And we never were caught. We eluded Seeds Doll.
Oh, yeah.
But a couple of years later, Roger Wells' younger brother did the same thing, and they got caught. And then another sort of extra Tyler story that involves Daryl Steffen, Crow. You know, February 3rd, 1959, ring a bell with anybody? The day the music died.
Oh,
yeah.
In Iowa.
Big Bopper.
Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, the Big Bopper. Well, the week before that happened, Crow, Don Coster, myself, Dale Shack, I don't remember who else. We drove up to Montevideo to see Buddy Holly. And the Big Bopper and Richie Valens, Dion and the Belmonts, and that's been my claim to fame ever since. story at a Bobby V concert. No, not a concert. A Bobby V story put on by the Minnesota History Center to tell the Bobby V story a couple years ago. And I had just seen Bobby V in Sioux Falls a couple years before that. And I don't know, we got talking to people before the performance and told them about the Bobby V, and I told them about Buddy Holly, and these people just went nuts. I mean, I was a hero. just for seeing these other guys. So, favorite teachers. You mentioned Mr. Lund. You know, we had songs about these teachers. You know, there was a red-headed little runt. It was the band leader, Mr. Bunt. And there was a principal named Shanks. He had legs like water tanks. And there were a bunch of more verses. These are the only two that have come up tonight. How about Kenny Craig? Any of you have fond memories of him? How about unfond memories? You know, I liked Mr. Craig. And at one point I was kind of almost his pet. I mean, he taught me how to use that big speed graphic camera and mentored me on all of those things. And then suddenly, for some reason, things turned bad. I think it started when I broke my arm in football practice right before school started. And so I had a cast on my right arm. And I walked up in front of the study hall. There was a bulletin board up there with a, had a chalk tray. And I rested my cast on it, and the whole damn thing fell off the wall. And Mr. Shanks didn't like that, or Mr. Craig. I don't know, what I did, but I'm not paranoid, but I know he was out to get me after that. Part of that. And then the last incident with Mr. Craig is, I think it was probably our senior year, and a bunch of us guys came to school on the day before final tests when we all could study, and it was kind of an easy day. And we wore these beachcomber pants, ped pushers, women would call them. We called them beachcombers, they were short. And of course, Craig just went nuts. And he called us into his office, told us we couldn't come to school that way. And if we skipped school, we would have a problem graduating. So we better go home and change clothes. So we all did. And we all came back to school wearing suits, white shirts, and ties. And boy, was he PO'd. And he threatened not to sign our diplomas. And my parents were teachers of Miss Barsonis, remember her? Annette Barsonis. And she said he was really serious about that, about not signing our diplomas. But he did. Junior Jasperson maybe remembers one more Craig story. I think you and my cousin Virgil Nyman were shooting squirt guns in study hall. Do you remember that, Junior?
No, I don't.
Well, the story was that Virgil had this can of water behind his desk, and he would just reach back and fill up the squirt gun and shoot it across the room. And after a while, he's reaching back and he couldn't find the can of water. And he turned around, and there's Mr. Craig standing there. I'll take the gun. So anyway, I could go on and on. I was a preacher, But Tyler was a great place to grow up, and I loved the school. Just absolute wonderful years in good old Tyler High School.
I love you. Thank you
very much, but I am going to go.
Okay.
Well, I don't know
Go
if
golf.
I'll be able to do this, but bringing back memories of Tyler.
Thank you.
Brings my quiet, shy nature to me.
But I guess my favorite teacher, and of course, Lee and I are about the oldest ones, almost the oldest ones here. And so our teachers were different than some of the rest of you. My favorite teacher was Roger Sorensen. He taught plain geometry and chemistry. And we really had a good chemistry class because both times, or all the chemistry classes I took after that, I aced. So he was a very good teacher. And I was surprised so many people say that So Flum was their favorite teacher because I was scared to death of him. I really was. And one time he made me a compliment, and I was even embarrassed about that. But, well, because it was kind of a leftover compliment. He said, I heard this beautiful clarinet music coming, and it was Margaret Dale. Surprise, surprise. But I did enjoy band because I really enjoyed, we got to go to other towns and play for the basketball games and football games and all that, and I loved that. And I guess that's, and I always behaved myself, so that was that one incident she tells about. That's the only time I ever got in trouble. I really can't think of anything to say after all this.
Give it a kiss, Sylvia. There you go, real close. There you go.
So I think I'll just pass it on. Does it go this way?
For David.
Well, it was a long time ago that I was in Tyler. But I do remember going up the street to see Buckshot one day. I was, your brother, right? He was young, yeah, your younger brother, and we got a pack of cigarettes from your dad. He didn't know it.
Lucky Strikes.
He didn't, yeah, they were Lucky Strikes. He didn't know it. So we went under the porch and started smoking. And then we caught the porch on fire. That was not good. I don't remember what, well, I do know my punishment was not very, I didn't have supper that night.
Get close to the mic, David.
But
there you go.
Buckshot's punishment was he had to take a box of matches and light them in front of his dad and mom. I don't know if you watched it or not.
No.
So one memory from high school was Gwen McGandy. And she was crackling with her false teeth. I don't know if that brought a memory, but she was talking about different kinds of metal. And I just remembered it, just like I think the other day I was talking to Judy. She said that iron was iron and copper was copper, but tin, she said an example of tin is when you get that little thing to wind up your toothpaste. You remember the toothpaste used to come in a tin thing? They don't do that anymore. I don't know what an example of tin would be today. So anyway, that's it. That's all I got. Oh, and thank you, big sister, for doing all this. She calls me little bro all the time.
Can I have just a couple?
My little bro.
Paul, of course, Anna Martin knows what story I'm going to tell. My family was camping up, can't remember the national park now, you will remember. And my first husband was sitting up there like 6 o'clock in the morning taking photographs. And this guy was sitting next to him and they started talking to each other and asked where they were from. And he said, the other guy said he was from Minnesota. And my husband said, oh, we're in Minnesota. And he said, southwestern Minnesota. Well, what Tyler? What town? And he said, Tyler, Minnesota. And I said, oh, my wife is from Tyler, Minnesota. And here it was Paul Ennemark. Do you remember that? I mean, not Paul, excuse me, not Paul, John. It was John. It was John. Do you remember that, John? Yeah, and you came down and sat around the campfire with us, with our family. Yeah.
Well, it's conceivable if it were like on the north rim of the Grand Canyon or Zion when we moved to Arizona. And I might have gotten up that early once in my life.
Yeah. And then another one was when I was retired and living in Arizona, and I was auditioning for a women's choir. And my women's choir, the choir director was from a retired professor from St. Cloud, Minnesota. I said, oh, from St. Cloud, Minnesota. I said, I think my former choir director used to live up there or did teach up there when he left Tyler, Minnesota. And he said, who was that? And I said, Bruce Christensen. Well, he said Bruce was my best man at my wedding.
High school united, in the suits of gold and maroon. We will fight for nothing, we'll win one more game, for we are DHS. Rah, rah, rah! and Cisco Mob. We will fight, fight, fight for one more victory. Fight for Hero Tyler High.
Love to share, love to share.
Oh, he screwed up.
Have another drink.
Love to share, health to spare, and friends that care.
Yeah. Yes. Go.
What do you do after 3 beers?
We're in trouble.
Davis?
Hey, Neil.
I sure like
Hey, Neil, we went to a dance together.
Do what?
Like her top.
Isn't that pretty? Yes.
Do you remember? He doesn't. Okay, everybody, when we were in Grandview together,
Yes.
we went to a formal. I had a formal gown. You came pick me up at the door.
Whoa.
And we went dancing.
Now we're talking.
You had a date. You had a date.
It was me.
I think that may have been my first date.
You were in college 2 years.
No, who was it?
You made a good impression
I sure did. I don't know why I brought it up.
Air Force in my lessons.
What in?
A Cessna 172 Skyhawk.
Okay.
So the slow ones.
Yeah.
Still has wings,
But they can kill you very thoroughly too.
Very true.
Very true.
So Neil,
I owned one for 35 years.
you and your brothers built an airplane.
That was the
Flew it.
brothers.
Huh?
Yeah, Norman did.
Oh, I thought you
Norman and Paul, wasn't it?
Yeah, Norman built two.
And they were.
They were, if you're familiar with home-built airplanes, they were both biplanes. EAA biplane and a Starduster 2. 180 horsepower, dual electrics.
And they would fly them into Tyler Airport. Now we used to go out at night. You remember when the cars had those spotlights on the outside with the car on the fairway, on the runway, grass runway, and they would get blinded and they'd stop. We didn't shoot them. We didn't do anything.
I took a
Probably. They don't weigh anything.
well, she wasn't in the glider. She was on the
Yeah, there was an old
Oh,
guy
yeah.
pilot in the glider.
You don't put big people in the tow plane.
But it was the projection that I struggled with. I couldn't project my voice. So Master Sergeant Driver, 2 days before the parade, goes, "Carol, come with me." I was like, "Yes, sir." We go to the edge of the school, and there's this alleyway. Basically, just it stops, so it's a yay long. And he goes, "Say a command." I was like, "Yes, sir." So I said a command. He goes, "No, say it loud enough so that your voice can bounce off the back of the back towards us." I was like, "Yes, sir." I stood there for an hour yelling at a wall to get a command presence. And so it worked. It made me realize that I needed to have people hear me. I needed to be able to project. I got those muscles. So one of the things was last year I was in ROTC, I was a trainer. So I was helping the freshmen learn how to march, how to do all this stuff. And we had a freshman that didn't know how to project. So I was like, I know what to do.
Come with me.
So we went to an alley, and I was like, project, make it bounce. And we stood there for an hour, and it was such a full circle moment. That's what she wanted me to tell.
Yes.
Thank